Good stuff. So I'm going to, and this, I'm just going to set the scene here a little bit if you don't mind. You'll see, you won't be able to see any numbers or any writing, but I just want to sell the actual item. The yellow is some key assumptions we're asking for their clubs and leagues and associations to populate there. So e.g., will we collect a percentage of our sponsorship? What percentage of fundraising will we get, and so forth? The blue numbers are your actual numbers from your prior year or your current budget. Now, we've got a good share of your budget, so I'll be populating your budget into this section, right? The green on the side is potentially, we're going to identify there's going to be some change in your revenue, and potentially the green is 3 or 4 revenue initiatives we're going to put forward to you today that you can consider to maybe put in place. So that's just, and you'll notice, so that's for revenue. So I'll just jump out of there, Jono, which I can do. So I'm just going to quickly go through the revenue. So if we go down here, we've allowed for canteen. You'll notice the red is asterisk, any tournaments, rep programs, presentation days, apparel, grants. We'll keep dragging, just bear with me for a second. We've got sponsorship, association club fees, team fees, and we've got some fundraising. So you can populate various different fundraising in there. So that's, the blue is the actual data from the prior year or your current budget. You'll notice down here, and before we show you the model, I'm just sort of setting the landscape a little bit. So this is the expenses. So in the expenses over here, you know, some of our associations will have a part-time employee. Some of my football netball leagues have netball payments, as an example. Some coaches being paid. We also then look at umpire fees, venue court hire, all this sort of stuff, affiliation, league fees, insurance, all that sort of stuff, and rentals with councils. So that's just some numbers for a sample association we've populated. So there's the starting point. So now what we do is we go back to here, up the top. So the first step is to populate the blue, which is the actual. So what we've got in front of us, let's say there's 40, let's assume autumn and spring season, 40, we're taping this, Jono?
Oh yeah.
Yep, good stuff. I want to make sure, because we wanted to make sure that's covered.
Yep.
So I've got everything in at 100% at the moment. So we're going to have a full year sponsorship. I'm going to populate, let's say we have, I'm just going to do some hypotheticals, 20. We're going to have 20 weeks. So it's virtually going to be half a year. It may be quicker. We're finding with some of our businesses, you're lucky to get 1 in 3. So let's say you're collecting 33%. We think that general disposable income could drop off 10%. The fact that then there's some of the, it's going to be a winter, and if it's outdoor aspect, then there could be some change in some of the numbers there. Fundraising, if you had half a year, fundraising is going to be really difficult. Fundraising is going to be really difficult because you're not going to be able to get together as a group and collectives. Even if they do return, you're not going to have, there's still going to be social distancing for an extended period of time. So some of my organisations, their fundraising could drop. Some are saying 75%. Let's say it drops 60%. Let's say if there's half a year association club fees, you can probably claim half. You'll collect half those funds. If there's a tournament, you have 1 tournament a year, and let's say that doesn't actually happen in the half that we're having a break, and the rep program, maybe we'll do half the rep program. So there's some key assumptions that every club can populate. I'm going to go through the expenses now, and then we'll show you the outcome. So
I'll just, Terry, will I just jump in there, because we had a couple of questions pre the webinar just around rep fees and whether associations and leagues should be refunding rep fees. It's probably, there's not a straight answer on that because everyone's rep program is different. So what I'd encourage you in filling out this model when you're considering your rep program is the extent to which it may run this year. Some of you will have already spent money servicing your rep program. Yes, you're not attending tournaments now, but you have set up training, and there's you potentially entered into another competition, another association competition like a Parkville or a Waverley. So you are spending money, and you're potentially going to roll that through into the spring comp when we come back. So you need to really evaluate your own rep program to see what you are delivering, and also just to reassure that Netball Vic will be running an alternate talent identification program this year to service next year. So how can you support your talented players to be in a good position when that program launches later in the year? So just something additional to think about when you're looking at rep programs.
Perfect. And just while I forgot to mention at the housekeeping, there's a little chat function that everyone should have access to. If you want to throw us some questions during the session, feel free to do that. And so we've just been through the revenue estimator. So let's say we go over here. We're going to go through some basic assumptions. So we've already said, look, it could be 6 months, it could be longer. It could be, let's say we've got someone who's being paid 10 or 20 or 30 grand a year to administer the association. Let's say we can afford to put them on 2 days of the 5 days. That's 40%. Player payments for some of the netballers, we'll have to probably cut that, let's say 50%. I'm assuming some coaches' payments might be the same. Discretionary spend. A lot of my clubs don't have a lot of discretionary spend, but there's some circumstances where you may have to be a little bit creative. E.g., some of my clubs and associations outsource their canteens, as an example, where they could potentially bring that in-house if it's a shorter period of time. It might be some other cleaning and basic stuff because their financials are going to change. The league and affiliation, let's say they drop by 25%. And I'm just going to show you an idea of what the revenue is. So I've covered up these numbers. So based on half a season, we're going to collect a third sponsorship. This is what spits out. So I'm just going to take this off now. Actually, I didn't change one major cost in the next page, which I should have done. So let's say our affiliation, just bear with me, sorry, which is the biggest cost. Yeah, so basically this organisation, it just...
Terry, have a look at team fees down on the revenue there.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't, you're right, I put that should be half a season. Good pick up, Jono. So let's say there's half a year and look at the change in the revenue. Jono, thanks for that, because I knew something wasn't quite right. So if you look at this organisation was turning 280 grand before Corona. It's now going to be turning over about 126 based on the assumptions that you've put in. Everyone's landscape is different, and you probably and there's no exact science here, but we're asking everyone to best estimate what you think your revenue and expenses will be, and that shows a 55% drop in revenue. Now that's based on cutting back coaching payments and having some staff and league fees and affiliation fees and so forth. But my tip today to everyone who's here is representing, whether it's a club, a league or association, this is an exercise it should be completed, and it'll be the best 30 minutes you'll spend. As I said, to lead into this session, a lot of my clubs and leagues and associations know things are going to change, but they don't know the depth in which it's going to change. And we'll be sending this out, I think, tomorrow morning or maybe later today. I really encourage everyone to go through this exercise, because you can't plan unless you know how things are going to change. And some clubs do come back to me and say, look, there's too many unknowns. There's an element of that, but just put in some hypotheticals. And there's I think everyone's got a crystal ball at the moment. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. It's a lot to take in. Share that with your treasurer, but I'll be looking at exercising that. So we might just ask Jono, we might ask